Hello, welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Samantha's Surprise, Chapter 4, Someone Very Special. Your house looks especially lovely with all the Christmas decorations, Cornelia said. Sunlight poured through the parlor windows and danced in her soft wavy hair. Thank you, Grandmary answered. We didn't want things to be festive for you. Samantha didn't say anything. She didn't even look at Cornelia. I hope your trip down wasn't too tiring for you, said Grandmary. She passed a plate of tiny tea sandwiches. Oh no, Cornelia replied. I do love motor cars, and Gardner, is such a good driver. Grandmary smiled. You are certainly brave, my dear, to ride in those new machines. I love travel of any kind, Cornelia responded, her brown eyes sparkling. When the new flying machines begin to carry passengers, I plan to ride in one of them too. So do I, Samantha thought. I'd love to see Mount Bedford the way a bird sees it. Grandmary raised her eyebrows. Well, she said, I don't think there will be ever much chance of ladies traveling in airplanes. I'm not so sure, Cornelia said gently, surprising Samantha how gracefully she could disagree with Grandmary. I read in the newspaper that travel by airplane might be possible one day, even across the ocean. Samantha looked at Grandmary. She knew Grandmary thought this was nonsense. But her grandmother merely replied, Perhaps. Uncle Gardner laughed. By Jupiter, any sort of travel is fine with me. Let me put in a hot air balloon or in a rickshaw or on an elephant. I'd even let them shoot me out of a cannon. Gardner, Grandmary exclaimed. She pretended to be shocked, and Samantha giggled. Of course, I think the best form of travel is sledding. Uncle Gard added. He returned to Samantha. Don't you, Sam? Oh, yes, Samantha agreed. Only I haven't gone this winter. Well, why don't we go sledding tomorrow? Morning, suggested Cornelia. Do you really think? Grandmary began. Cornelia's large brown eyes were soft and earnest. It's such good, wholesome exercise, she said. Please, Grandmary, Samantha pleaded. I love sledding. Hurrah, cried Samantha, right after she made up her mind to give Cornelia something nice for Christmas after all. Maybe bath salts. The kind in a tall bottle with a fancy glass shaw. The sun sparkled on Fairwind Hill the next morning. The sky was deep blue and cloudless. The air was clean and cool, and all of Mount Bedford lay below, tucked under a soft, thick blanket of snow. I love this hill, Uncle Gard said as they pulled the sled to the top. When I was a boy, I'd come up here and imagine I was in heaven. Cornelia smiled. Gard, I think you could imagine anything if you tried. I couldn't imagine life without you, Gard murmured. Samantha caught his words. Uncle Gard is in love, she said to herself. He loves Cornelia. Sam, Uncle Gard called over his shoulder. Who's going to steer? You steer the sled, Uncle Gard. I want to be in the middle. All right, Uncle Gard laughed. Let's go. The three piled on the sled. Uncle Gard sat in front, and Samantha behind them both, Cornelia. I feel somewhat like a caboose, Cornelia said, making Samantha laugh. Hold on, Uncle Gard said, with a tremendous swift Sheragon skimming down the hillside at top speed. Ooh, cried Samantha with delight. Hooray for us, came Cornelia's unladylike shout. The sled slid faster and faster, skidding and hopping down the hill. Watch out, Uncle Gard yelled. But it was too late. The sled veered out of control, narrowing missed a tree and tipped over. The passengers spilled out into the snow. Oof! Samantha grunted, wiping the snow powder off her face. Uncle Gard was in front of her, laughing and pointing back up the hill. Samantha turned to see what he thought was so funny. It was Cornelia. She had lain on her stomach, and her hat had flown right off her head. She looked most unladylike with her legs tangled, her face red as a beet, and her long, beautiful hair all stringy and wet. But she was laughing too. Samantha had never seen anything like it. A grown-up lady who knew how to play. Cornelia is fun. I see why Uncle Gard loves her. Samantha thought. Come on, Cornelia cried, pulling up herself and dusting off the snow. Let's do it again. And they did. They sledded until they were so out of breath, their clothes so wet and their noses so red they could see nothing but hurry home to a hot lunch with Grandmary. After lunch, they decided to go shopping. They piled into Uncle Gard's automobile, and with a loud "Ooh-ah, ooh-ah" from the horn, they rumbled off toward the high street. This year, the store seemed more beautiful than ever. Miss Smith's stationery shop had a revolving Christmas tree made out of Christmas cards. As the music box played "Joy to the World," the tree turned round and round. Mr. Jerome, the shoemaker, had 4 mechanical elves in his window. They hammered, stitched, and polished tiny shoes, their mouths open and closed as they worked, and their pointy-hatted heads turned from side to side. "Aren't they cute?" Samantha asked. She had seen elves every year she could remember. Yet each year they delighted her as if she had never seen them before. "Yes, I love the store windows at Christmas time, too," Cornelia replied. Next they came to Mr. Carruthers' candy shop. Samantha thought Mr. Carruthers' shop was always a wonderful place, but now she thought it was spectacular. Large red bins shaped like sleighs were heaped with sweets. "Oh, don't they look delicious?" Cornelia pointed to the mounds of light and dark chocolate on a silver tray inside a glass case. "I just love chocolate," she said. "Oh, these are the finest in Mount Bedford," Miss Carruthers informed her. "Jolie chocolates. They arrived just this week from France. They do look special," Uncle Gard remarked, "although I prefer jelly beans myself." Samantha had paused in front of some colored sugar wafers. "Oh, Samantha, wouldn't these be perfect on a gingerbread house?" Cornelia asked her. "When I was a girl, I had always decorated a gingerbread house." "I always decorated a gingerbread house, too," Samantha said. This year, Mrs. Hawkins doesn't have time to help me, though." "Then why don't you and I make a gingerbread house?" Cornelia said. "We can do tomorrow morning." "Oh, I'd like that. I'd like that very much," Samantha said. They picked out all the trimmings right then. Mr. Carruthers filled several paper bags with lemon drops, sugar wafers, jelly beans, and honey sticks. "Cornelia is really too nice for bath salt," Samantha thought as they walked out of the store. "She's yours something special. Maybe I'll get her handkerchiefs. Linen handkerchiefs with lace edges." When they crossed Felcher Street, Samantha heard tinkly music of toy pianos. "Let's go into Schoyfield's toy store," she cried. The store was crowded, but Uncle Gard, Cornelia, and Samantha managed to make their way inside. Uncle Gard led Cornelia to the back of the shop to look at the toy soldiers, and Samantha went straight to the window to look at the dolls. When she saw that the lovely Nutcracker doll was still there, her heart sank. She hoped it would be gone because Grandmary had bought it for her, but she knew it was a foolish hope. Grandmary didn't even know Samantha wanted this doll more than anything in the world. Grandmary couldn't know that because Samantha hadn't told her. And now Samantha was sure that someone else would buy the doll for some other little girl, maybe for one of the girls in the store right this minute. Just then, a hand reached in the display and picked up the beautiful Nutcracker doll. "Oh, look at this doll! Isn't she exquisite?" Samantha was startled. She hadn't heard anyone come up behind her. She turned to find Cornelia. "And look at the tiny Nutcracker arms!" Cornelia exclaimed. "This is the most wonderful doll in the store. Don't you think so, Samantha?" "Oh, yes," Samantha agreed out loud. To herself, she said, "Cornelia understands. She knows what's special." And just for a moment, she forgot to be sad about the doll she would never have. Just then, Uncle Gard said, "The toy soldiers said we'd better march. Grandmary will be sorry if we're late." They pushed their way out of the busy toy store, but when they reached the car, Samantha announced, "I won't be coming home with you." "Oh, what do you mean?" Uncle Gard asked. I forgot something. I forgot to buy the vanilla Mrs. Hawkins asked me to pick up for her." Samantha lied. I'll get it and walk home." "Nonsense, Sam," Uncle Gard said. "We'll go together." No, really. I would rather go alone and walk. I love the streets at Christmas time." Uncle Gard was was about to say no again, but something in Samantha's voice must have told him this was important. After a pause, he said, "All right, Sam, go if you want, but don't be late." When she was sure the automobile had turned to the corner, Samantha ran back to the high street to Mr. Carruthers' candy shop. The little bell over the door tinkled, and she went inside. "Oh, young lady," Mr. Carruthers said, "how can I help you this time?" "A pound of Jolie's French chocolate, please." "A whole pound?" Mr. Carruthers asked. His white eyebrows twitched up in surprise. "A whole pound," Samantha replied. "This must be for someone really special, Samantha." "Oh, yes, Mr. Carruthers, someone very special indeed." And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.